So I've been in sort of like a state of I've been a little bit cursed recently. I've been cursed by thinking that Caucasian white men are Jake, and I've been approaching them and they've not been Jake.
Oh, how many
And
people have you just walked up to on the street?
I've approached 2 men.
Only 2?
One was, they were both ruining enough. One was in the cinema. I tapped him and sort of put my hand on his shoulder, because I thought it was Jake's head.
To be fair, if I'm going to be anywhere, it's going to be there.
It looked like him entirely. And then another man I approached on the train. Both weren't pleased, really, to have me anywhere near them. It ruined 4 for me. 4 was never going to be a good film, because I'd interacted with a stranger, and I'd nearly touched him, so that was, even worse. And I just think it calls the need for a campaign, we need to change how the way Jake looks. Because other than, the big haircut of 012, we haven't had a big change to Jake, so I'm going to make a suggestion that he goes, Mohawk. Because he's too much of just
I want to see Jake
man.
with a mohawk now. I desperately want to see that.
I'm just too scared that if I shave off the sides, if I shave off anything, it's just not going to grow back. So I'm a bit too scared to actually trim a little bit further down.
I think you should commit to it. We've had the glasses, which was a beautiful step. We got the Clark Kent. Now we need him to go further. Now we need the Rock. Commit.
No, I get
what
it.
people are asking for.
It's
not just what the people are asking for, it's me. I then don't have to approach strangers and think they're you. Or at least if I do approach a stranger, it's a lot more interesting a conversation, because random white man not interested to speak to me. Man with a mohawk.
True.
That's going to be a fun train ride.
I get the worry though, because if you just shave your eyebrows, you might just turn into Matt Smith.
How dare you?
It's Morbin time.
It is Morbin time.
My old housemate always used to be like, "You look a little bit like Matt Smith," and then proceed to say that Matt Smith looked like a smiley face potato that you'd put in the oven.
What a lovely person.
Thank you so much for this compliment that you have bestowed upon me.
I mean, they were half right. The first half was okay.
If you separate them up, they're both compliments in a way.
Right up until Zach started campaigning for me to change how I look, I've been watching too much Better Call Saul, where it sounded like you're on the witness stand and you're like, I've approached 2 Caucasian men. It was at 1,500 hours.
Bro, no. His predatory ways have caught up with him. What happened? We took a month break and look what you've done. Anyway, welcome back to Legendary Ray.
These were occasions where I was very happy to see Jake. I hadn't seen Jake in a long time. Thought, oh my god, it's Jake! And I run up and it's just disappointment.
Well, at least it's not the other way around, where you're kind of like, oh shit, it's Jake. Oh,
Fuck.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't make eye contact.
I did that all the time at uni.
I noticed.
Whereas I'm just such a bitch for Jake. I'm just he's there, sprint. Just, that's why I don't take time to analyse. I could just be any man. I think he's tall, he walks, it must be him.
There was one time where I saw you on the other side of the road, and I was in a bit of a rush, so I couldn't cross, but I was shouting, and I looked like a madman. And you just kept, I think you had your earphones and you were just charging to the train station.
So do you mean we had a potential meeting and I missed it? I'm gonna be fucking up all night thinking about this.
So back through all your memories, in that Black Mirror episode, when was it?
When was he? So we've got Jacob the Heartbreaker, Michelle is Michelle, and
yeah, I'm just that,
and Zach the Predator.
Is this a trio. The first time we're properly doing an intro to the podcast, and that's how we're doing it?
Yeah, that's it. Every week I'll have new titles for you guys every week.
Wow, that's so cool. Holy shit.
We get to episode 56 and it's guys, she's banging on the front door. She's of Channel 4. She is waiting to develop the reboot of Ready Steady Cook. It's Michelle.
I mean, that wouldn't.
Come on.
That wasn't really my career path that I saw taking, but Do you know what?
If
I'll
someone
take
said,
it.
if you were offered, would you
I mean,
say no?
I'd take anything at this point, Zach. I can't lie. I'm very unemployed.
From the
and
lady who can't even cook spaghetti. Ready, steady, cook.
All I'll say
I
is
can
in this
cook
hypothetical-
spaghetti. What the fuck? Where's that rumor come from?
I heard on the grapevine.
All I'm saying in this scenario is that Ainsley is on board. He's
Already?
in. That's all that matters. Ainsley's on board.
I think you're the one who's starting it. If you already know that.
I'm just an accomplice, Michelle. We'll build it together.
I'll then
Yeah.
do like that YouTube takedown where I just completely tear apart your show.
I'd like you to be like one of those contestants who comes on and just has like one of those bake-off moments where you just throw your cake in the bin. And just the whole nation weeps for you and just thinks, what happened to this nice Caucasian blonde man? Maybe I'll
And
approach him on a train.
Every Caucasian contestant that then comes on from there, they're like, oh, it's him from that first episode.
Yeah. You get
It's that,
people...
it's that potato. It's that smiley face potato.
God, this
Yo,
this
it's
was a
Matt
bad-
Smith.
alas,
Holy shit.
no.
I loved you in Morbin time.
What's that? I'm glad you guys enjoyed a different movie. I like poor man.
Oh, that was his reaction at Comic-Con, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just said, I'm really sorry. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I saw him in a interview like today or like a couple of days ago for House of Dragon. And he'd only found out about it's Morbin time like that day at Comic-Con when they said it. He didn't know what it was before, and then he had to try and explain it to his co-star right next to him. I feel like, oh yeah, it's just a meme from the movie. Though I don't know why, but it's and they're like, oh, it's a line from the movie, and then Matt Smith has to very quietly go, no, it's actually not.
It's like, you get on a HBO show, like, you're with, like, an esteemed cast of, like, prestige actors, like, yeah, you're lucky to be here. Just immediately brought down, yeah, maybe we don't bring Matt back for the next series. He's just got a bad vibe in this Morbin time business.
Well, I mean, he's had such bad luck, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Because, like, he was supposed to be the big villain in Rise of Skywalker. He was cut.
Yeah.
He was. What else was he recently cut from?
He was supposed to be much bigger in the Terminator Genesis. Was completely cut out of that. He was just a hologram. Poor man.
Poor bloke.
I feel bad
Jesus.
for him, man. I hope he gets Doctor the 60th because he needs some work.
Nah, he ain't bothered. He's not interested.
Whatever I see him in, he is good. It just
Yeah, he turns
there's
up.
There's not
Yeah,
enough of it.
no.
There's not enough.
I will say I'm getting a little bit. I'm not going to dwell on Doctor because I know we'll just end up talking about it for hours. But I am getting worried that the 60th is just David Tennant. I'm getting really worried.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just only been him so far, and we actually don't know if because Neil Patrick Harris said that he met Shooty once, and he's the villain. And
Oh,
once,
that's worrying.
once,
That's worrying.
I have faith that it could work even if it is just Tennant because we don't know.
Oh,
the
it'll
story yet.
100% work.
Like
but,
it has the different costume and stuff, so we don't know if it is just going to be
yeah.
like some glitches happening where it is Shooty, but in his head he thinks he's Tennant or something, which is why it's all going round.
Yeah.
Or like, but yeah, it's like it's the 60th. How many shows can celebrate their 60th? Like, bring everyone in.
I think it's what's most the only reason I'm like slightly worried about it and everything is like I'm sure it'll be an incredible Tennant episode and I'll be so happy that I'm watching it and I'm glad that he's back and I'm glad we got Donna and I'm glad it's the last time we see Bernard. It's just sweet, it's beautiful, but
Bernard,
at the
my boy.
same time it's so safe. Like, it's the Doctor that everyone knows, that everyone loves. Everyone's going to tune in for it, even if they don't know it's the 60th, because David Tennant is the Doctor again. And if it is just because it's David Tennant's the Doctor again, he's done this episode, it's like, that's really quite sad. And Russell T Davies could do better. I know he can do better. He definitely can do better. You know, that's my worry.
Yeah.
I want him to juggle this stuff. I want to see what Matt Smith can do in that setting. I want to see what Peter Capaldi can do in that setting. I'd love if Jodie could turn up, but I know she won't. And I know that Chris definitely won't. But I'd love for just at least Peter and Matt to at least show up at some point, and maybe they're on a soundstage right now doing something. But
Chris has come a long way in his stance on it, because obviously he started vehemently, fuck no, and fair enough with everything that went down. And then he's then like, started doing the audios, but he was still, when that started, like, but I won't be doing the TV show. And now he said, don't get me back in a multi-doctor story. If you're having me back, have it as just me.
Yeah.
And so...
Well,
you sat on too many, like, laurels there. Like, that's never going to happen. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care how much you would like it to be on your terms. Like, there's too much at stake with it. I love the man, but, like... count your chickens.
I think what could really work... I have, like, two ways I would love it to work, is if it is, like... here's a Tennant episode, and here's a Matt Smith episode, and that could be really cool. But that's too much money, and the BBC wouldn't spend it. But if it's also just that, because it's the Timeless Child arc ending, and we're maybe going through all of her old incantations, maybe this is Tennant out in the real world, and then it's Matt Smith when they come out in a different bit, and it's Peter when they come out in another bit, and it's like, it's just happening visually, it's not actually... the regeneration. That could be interesting. I think there's a way it could work, but I don't know, and I think everyone's slightly worried and slightly scared that it is only Tennant.
I think at this point we know so little, and I'm kind of glad that we know so little, because Russell's gone, I'm so sorry, we've only announced these things. We don't want to overshadow Jodie. We've only announced these things because we will be filming publicly, and we want to own the announcement as opposed to it leaking. And so I reckon they've got loads, even if it's other doctors or not, I would think they've got loads more up their sleeve where... I don't know.
It's going to be great when we do see it, I'm sure, but...
Just
at the moment,
Rowan
I'm
Atkinson
like...
and Joanna Lumley in it. Just bring them back,
Yeah.
that'd be fine.
I mean, Rowan will do anything for a paycheck, I'm sure. You
Yeah.
see Man vs. Bee?
The underrated classic of the year.
Is it any good?
No, it's awful. It's awful. Genuinely bad.
The way he fucking... What was it? The way that he marketed it was by doing the Ricky Gervais thing where he goes, fuck everyone who hates comedy.
Yeah, because what was the quote? He said something along the lines of, like, every joke needs a victim. And it's especially odd because his kind of brand is kind of, like, family-friendly.
It's Mr.
He's
Bean.
normally the victim of the jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in Blackadder, he wasn't, like, very... He was snarky, but he wasn't, like, a dick. Yes, he was a dick to the other characters, but he wasn't, like...
And it
Jeez,
was always,
that's
like,
fucking cruel.
friendly banter is what it was.
Yeah.
The whole point of Blackadder was to tell you the story of what happened and things like that, but in a funny, jokey, here's the sitcom. And then, like, the end of Blackadder is beautiful. Like, it is incredible. And then, like, the fact that he went from that to, I just kind of want to rag on the poor sometimes. It's like, that's great. Thank you, Rowan. Thank you, Ricky. That's so cool. You're so fucking funny. Comedy. Anyway, you've been watching The Rehearsal by another comedian.
Yeah. Speaking of safe television, this is not safe television. Yeah, this is... Genuinely, I think he will get into a lot of trouble after this is done.
That's what happens every time Nathan Fielder does anything.
He's one of my favourite comedians. Yeah.
Like, for context of, like, people who haven't seen the show, it is, like, basically the premise is people will get in touch, like, they've got, like, a something that they want to experience or, like, try and prepare for, like, they've got a confession to make or they've got a piece of their life that, like, they're not sure they want to commit to yet, and he gives you the opportunity to, like, experience it as in detail as it possibly can be and have it go, hopefully, the way you want it to go, like, and... I honestly think that the entirety of Nathan For You was set up just for this. Like, one of the best shows of the entirety of the 2010s, just one of the best pieces of art I've ever seen, is like just like a fucking recap or like a prequel for like what he's achieving in this, because I have been in states of where I'm on the floor howling, and then also the floor in like cold sweats and just like, oh, I don't like what he's done there, this is horrible, and...
Is it like just cringe comedy?
it's not even, it's like to the point of like where he's potentially like just deconstructing himself and then also a human being's like, oh yeah, if this goes wrong, this is going to ruin everything for you, isn't it? Like, yeah, this is going to really hurt. And the way in which like they set up what could be a perfect episodic show, and like it could be like very much like Nathan Fielder, there's a new setup, like a new rehearsal each week, and then it turns out to not be episodic, and it's, we're following a story here, and I genuinely am extremely worried for Nathan. Like, there's been a lot of buzz about a particular episode online, a certain transition, which I won't spoil, but you need to eventually see, and I wanted to reach out and hug him because I'm genuinely scared for what happens at the end of this show. Like, I don't know what kind of human being he's going to be. It feels like this is like, if he was never going to make anything again, this is his last hurrah. And it's terrifying. I can't recommend it enough. Like, it's just, there's sequences in this where it's like, oh yeah, do you know that guy like who came to fix your stove the other day? Oh yeah, that wasn't really like a repairman, that was like my team. And we 3D scanned your apartment so I could speak to you and have this conversation nearly 60 times over just so I could get the exact jokes right. He's like planned picking up a book on this man's shelf like 12 different ways, and it's like, oh yeah, how to drive women wild in bed, we're gonna get on very well. And it's like a joke designed to like make him feel at ease, and it's like, no, it's not right. Like, Nathan For You was morally grey, this is like, shit, I don't know how this is on television. And it reeks of money. He's got so much fucking money for this. Like, they built a building and then they start moving it around the country just for his like an amusement. And just like, oh, I'd like something like that. And yeah. I don't know how he convinced anyone to give him anything for this. Just...
I was really worried after Nathan For You finished, because I was like, it's such a specific brand of comedy and thing where I was like, I'm really excited to see what he does next. And then as soon as the trailer dropped for this, you could just see like the cogs turning. Like, he should. I saw a tweet that said he should be put in the prison they put Magneto in X-Men 2.
Literally. And I think like it excels very much in regard to how like Nathan For You, like you could tell like there had to have been like a writer's room or something like that. Had to have been, like, that's to a degree certainly scripted. This show must have been a fucking nightmare to be on in the post-production, because it feels like they would have shot days upon days upon days and then only ever found it in the edit, and it feels like that the whole way through. Like, he's not trying at all, he's just like, this will maybe work and it maybe won't. And no, he shouldn't be allowed to do this, but I love that
it really does sound like Sacha Baron Cohen sort of style, where it's like, oh, how okay, he's just gonna make fun of Bernie Sanders on screen, or he's gonna just go and show up to a Trump rally as Trump.
It's gotten to the point where it feels like he knows he's about to become what Sacha Baron Cohen is. Like, he can't go and do Borat anymore because everyone knows Borat. I feel like Nathan almost sort of knows he's gonna reach like, so I'm going out with a bang. Like, this is gonna be my one. And and there's just such an artistry to it. Like, I don't want to like put too much hyperbole on it, but I genuinely think it's the 2020s so far. There hasn't been anything that's exceeded this for me, other than maybe Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, they're neck and neck at this point, and we're only 4 episodes in.
Wow.
Better Call Saul.
Haven't seen it. Can't comment.
No.
When I catch up, I will.
The Sandman.
No, not yet.
It's okay.
What?
It's alright, it's really great in some places.
Where are you at in it? Sorry, I don't mean to completely derail.
Oh, no.
Rehearsal.
I've said everything I'm going to say on the rehearsal. I don't want to say any more about that. I just want everyone to go and see it and just cry about it with me. But
I could tell you'd rehearsed that, Zach. Well done.
Obviously, like, I stood in front of the mirror for days. All I do is, like, I don't sleep. I just think about, like, when am I going to speak to Jake and Michelle again?
Aww.
Just think, when is it going to happen?
So you've just been sat in a corner for a month and a half.
I only watch something thinking, like, oh, maybe I can talk to Jake about this. Oh god, Michelle's going to bully me if I watch this. It's all like, my life is just dominated by what will they think.
Oh no, you shouldn't do that. We're always gonna tell you it's shit.
Nah, Sandman. What? It's okay. It's alright. Solid 6 out of 10. Yeah.
6?
It's very well made. Like, they're acting very well. It's shot appallingly. I don't think any of it looks very good. Like,
What about it? Is it because everything's squished?
it's so flat. Like, there's no, like, none of it, like, pops, and none of it is, like, that should be, like, everything. I want to step into it, and that's just, like, yeah, I could make this, like, I could just, like, draw this, and it would have less colour. Like, it's, none of it grabs me.
What
that
episode
world
are
should
you
grab
on?
me. I'm on the lady just met Dream. She's the Vortex. Whatever that means. Yeah. And I like that it's got, like, the thing of just, oh yeah, Mark Hamill can turn up as a pumpkin head guy just for a scene. I like that. That's fun, but nothing else around it is really grabbing me.
That's really surprised me because I've had the complete opposite with it. Like, I'm absolutely adoring it, and just think that even, like, when they were introducing David Thewlis and stuff, it didn't feel like, now they're introducing a villain. It just felt like, here's another character. They just so happened to be the villain for this part of the story. And you can completely see where he was coming from. I don't know, I'm really surprised that you're not too keen.
Well, it's like, there are bits of it where I'm just like, I mean, I loved that episode with the guy in the pub every 100 years. That was great. Loved that. But then there are other bits of it I'm just like, okay, like, I'm very glad it's making a lot of people very happy, but I could stop where I'm at and probably not care again.
It's annoying because there's so many small ideas in it that they could make into complete other things, like with the seeing the man every 100 years, where I've had, like, short story ideas in my head for a while, and one was a bit similar to that, and then I see this and go, damn, and I'm like, oh, they only just beat me to it, and then I'm like, no, the comics came out like 20 years ago.
It's like, I was, like, determined, like, I'll read all of Sandman before it comes out, and then I looked and I was like, it's 80 quid to buy the whole thing. I was like, oh, I can't spend that much on comic books.
Bit much.
Did you see?
I should, but I can't.
Did you see Neil Gaiman thanking George R.R. Martin because he wouldn't have got Sandman if George didn't pass on it?
Really? Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because they offered it to George, and then I think he was like, I don't know what I'd do with these characters.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
And then Neil was like, yeah. Ooh.
I love how they're, like, genuinely best buddies. Like, when Neil released, like, that quote, and then it turned into the song, and George R.R. Martin is not your bitch. Just got turned into a song and a merch. So, well done, Neil. I'm very happy if it's making other people happy. I hope Jenna Coleman gets a spin-off. That'll probably happen, but other than that, nah.
Meanwhile, I've been watching Jessica Jones.
What are you thinking?
I love it. I've watched all of season 1 now, because I started Jessica Jones when it started to come out, because it's David Tennant, and he was apparently incredible in it, and then Kristen Ritter is Jessica Jones. I watched, like, the first 2 episodes and loved it, and then just never carried on with it. Sort of how I did with Umbrella Academy, where I just sort of started it and then just didn't carry on. I didn't hate it, I just didn't carry on.
That's worth sticking with.
Yeah,
but
that really is.
Jessica Jones is just good. It is just good.
I've only ever seen series 1. Like, I mean, I've seen it about, like, 10 times now.
It is
but
very good,
yeah, I've never gotten to series 2.
I've only just
I've
started
never seen
season
it.
2, so it is worth a watch. Like, it's Marvel, but, like, it's a neo-noir story. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
I've
nothing
never
else about it.
seen. I've never seen any of those shows. I've never seen Daredevil. I've never seen.
I haven't watched either.
Punisher. Like,
Jessica Jones was the only one I was, like, actually slightly interested in, because obviously David Tennant as Kilgrave is possibly one of the best villains of all time. He's just
It
incredible.
surprises me on a rewatch how little he's actually in it. Because when
Yeah.
you first watch it, even like a 30-second scene, it's like, oh my god, he's fucking here. Oh my god, I don't know what to do. And just like really tense and like, ah. And then, then on a rewatch, it's just like,
He's in it.
David Tennant's in about like half an hour of the whole series.
It
Really
is-
good though. Really fucking
Like,
good.
the fact he can leave such an impression. I don't think he's even, like, in the show apart from, like, his face for the first 2-3 episodes. Like, there is nothing in it actually specifically him.
yeah.
But, like, the fact he can leave such an impression with just, like, whispering in her ear, or just like being that voice in their head, and the fact that people show that presence about everything about him and a way that he carries himself and the way that he talks down to people, it just feels so like scary. Like you just no villain has ever made me feel like holy shit, you know, like that. You didn't get that with Thanos, and Thanos snapped away half the universe. Like,
I think it's also because yes, he has the powers, but anyone could manipulate you with their words. Like, he doesn't need the physical presence to. He literally just has to talk to you. It's like the 1,000 Cuts bit where she's just like, it's like Trinity. No, stop.
Honestly, like I've been trying to like piece together who that was for so long. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes
oh shit,
sense.
It's Trinity.
Yeah. It's the small little things where you just notice people in there. Like, it took me a while to realize that was Luke Cage until like they actually like specifically said his name. I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing your promotional material.
Yeah.
I remember watching bits of the
Oh, Michelle.
I just forgot.
Like, it hit at the perfect time for me as well, because I was 15, and I think that was just like, I was watching more adult stuff, and just, it hit the perfect time where I was like still in my David Tennant obsession and stuff. It was just like, yo, this is fucking good. Like, it's still, I think, like my Xbox wallpaper and stuff, because I just can't be asked to change it.
It's just the apotheosis of, oh my god, Netflix is a thing now. I can watch this. Like, back when it was the Wonder Child. Haven't done anything wrong yet.
Well, like, I'm mostly watching them now because obviously we're getting a new Daredevil season, like, or series. I think it's different now. I don't know if it's going to tie into what we've already seen. Yeah. But if they are doing that, I really just want to see what they do with the rest of them, because I know Luke Cage got shafted and so did Iron Fist. Like, apparently they weren't good series at all.
No. Luke Cage was alright. Iron Fist had its issues. And then the Defenders was the one where they all teamed up. Yeah. And I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard like all the character I mean, it's as with a lot of Marvel, all the character interactions brilliant, but it kind of didn't
didn't gel well together. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think now that they're under this Disney umbrella, as much as it's in Monopoly, you know, it's nice. It'll be nice to see if she does return, or if we do get those sorts of villains again and stuff like that, where it's like a genuinely dark story that just, because holy shit, that I think Marvel and DC have sort of sanitized what violence is so much that watching some of that gruesomeness from just that season, I was I don't think I've seen anything like that in a while. I mean, outside of like, you know, Parasite and things like that. You don't see it in anything mainstream.
I'd be interested in what you two think of this. And I know there's the whole like ridiculous argument, oh, video games make people violent, which is completely ridiculous. But in terms of violence on screen and in terms of like age ratings and stuff, I think a film like a 12A war film, where if people get shot and just dust comes out, I think that's a lot more harmful than if they did show a little bit of blood, or if that, because it not necessarily showing a lot of blood in a 12A, but I think it kind of can desensitize people to it, where it's like someone's getting completely shot apart and it's just dust. Like, they're like, oh, okay, shrug it off. And I understand, like, it's to tell the story, it doesn't need to be so violent and graphic and whatnot. But then you watch something like Hacksaw Ridge, where suddenly I was so used to just watching things like Dunkirk, which is still a brilliant film, but people get shot, it's just dust. And you watch Hacksaw Ridge and you're like, we are literally just bags of blood and flesh.
Obliterating the human form.
Yeah. Well, so do you guys think that it's maybe a little bit more harmful?
There's the argument again with how, like, is violence inherently less impactful than sex, which we treat sex at such a high pedestal, but violence we're just like, oh, it's whatever, she just stabbed a guy, sick. But like, when you see it as bloody and gruesome and how death and killing and, you know, violence is, it's like, oh shit, okay, yeah, that's as bad as sex. So why don't we have that sort of ladder for sex, I guess, is the main thing. I think that's where I go to with that rather than going, oh, is it harmful? I don't think it is, because ultimately I think violence in general is probably harmful in some capacity. But I just, it's weird that society views sex as worse in these scenarios, you know?
Yeah, because you talk about like that pastiche of sort of like, oh, there's like a gap between like, oh, where violence isn't elevated. Like, I mean, we saw like Bullet Train the other night, and that was just like, the violence was just like a romp, like I didn't care, and like I think you could have shown what was in that film to anyone, and I don't think it would have mattered. But I think there's like a very, because it's so tongue-in-cheek and none of it matters, but I think when there's like I'm watching Primal at the moment, and violence in that is so distinctly purposeful. Like there's never like a fist thrown or like a spear stabbed at something, and unless if it's absolutely necessary, and it is used to like just like create the most effect. And I think like when it can go into like the whole, this means something and then I can be affected by it, that's when I'm like, yeah, this is where like we consider like, do we show this to the younger audiences? But I think like it's got to like fall into that category of what is my intent here, because like Bullet Train, it was just throwing stuff in because like it could, and it was brilliant, I loved it, I had so much fun with that. But Primal is then like having a conversation on like, we know why you're here, we know you want to see like a dinosaur tear apart a cult of 8 people, but we don't necessarily want to show that, and we kind of want to justify why we don't want to see it. So I think there's such like a divide in regards to, I don't think you'll ever fully justify either, but I think that's maybe a guiding principle, like in my mind. Like that would be, I mean, Christ, if I ever had kids, they'd be like, yeah, maybe I'll show it to you for this reason and maybe not keep you in front of that, but
yeah.
Nah, I don't care, I'll just show kids fucking Hacksaw Ridge. Get them to learn young. Get them to learn young.
Kids, tonight you're going to learn about my good friend, Michael Myers. Happy 3rd birthday.
Hell yeah. Dad, it's my bar mitzvah. What are we doing? Tonight, son. Tonight, we're going to watch... Hostel. Yeah, fuck it, that's violent. That'll do.
I was like... I could see your brain kind of like ticking around on like shit, which one?
Come on, that's supposed to be your bread and butter.
Speaking of violence, though...
oh no, Michelle, don't do this. Michelle, don't do this.
I don't even
you chose violence with that segue. You chose violence with that segue. That was disgusting.
This segue is so bad. I don't know where you're going with this, and we've agreed the topics beforehand.
Should we talk about everything to do with HBO?
Yeah,
everything. Because there's a lot of things that's going on to do with, I guess, a violent affair of deals, and then also just a violent human being terrorizing the United States.
Okay, that, like, maybe the Ezra Miller stuff, I understand the segue, but I thought, at least this isn't going to be the HBO part.
Yeah, I don't know, it's obviously... Where else?
HBO sort of chose violence in this last week.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
Yeah, they said, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh. Alright, you've not heard any of the new Ezra Miller stuff, have you?
No.
None of it?
No.
So we got
Strap
some news
yourself
today.
in.
Yeah. Last I heard, there was a bullet in a baby's mouth or something.
What?
Yeah.
Jeez, oh no, that's...
They were... They've been arrested in Vermont, I think, because of a felony charge. Yeah. Which begs the question, how did they get to Vermont from Hawaii? But, alright.
There's rumours that they were reshooting whilst
they did reshoots.
Yeah, so I think they were flown out. I think they were flown out. And they were that in trouble.
We found out today that there are 3 things for Warner Bros. Discovery to do. One of them... 3 options. One of them is give them an interview to explain everything and let them do some press for the movie.
Let him Logan Paul it.
2, don't let them do any press for the movie. Or 3, cancel it. So why is the first 2 exist? I'd just like to know that first of all. Like, right now, why are those 2 allowed? The third is pretty much the only one that seems to exist, that should exist. That I guess they spent a lot of money on you know, Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, but also they did that for Batgirl, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know where their money is anymore. They don't seem to care.
No. It was when I was watching like the SDCC, just like going on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I feel really, really bad for Warner Bros. Like, they're going through this big merger. They don't know where they're at the moment. Like, they're not able to show what they'd maybe like. They've got their two big films. They've got Amber Heard and bloody Ezra Miller. They can't talk about them. I feel sorry for them. That died within like a week, given what they've done to like half the creatives on their platform. Like,
Jesus.
the amount of stuff that was just gone overnight, and they just found out in the paper in the morning or on Twitter. That's just
disgusting. It's because I didn't even know that Batgirl was a film until it was cancelled.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm so pissed off about it is because it is just there is a trans person in that film, and it's a female-led story, and they did not trust it to sell. That's it.
No.
That's the only reason. Because its audience test scores are that of like what Wonder Woman was and what like the Suicide Squad had last year.
And Thor: Love and Thunder, which was also a great film.
I'm sorry it wasn't me, Zach. I'm sorry it wasn't me.
But like it just frustrates me because their view of quality and what is not good cinema is not what they've ever put towards anything they've ever put out.
Yeah.
Ever. Aquaman is not that good, and yet somehow that one got released. Suicide Squad got released. Like, it had a good trailer, and that was it. It's baffling to me that Batgirl is just not a viable film to release, even though it's testing really well without CG, and the CG's halfway done.
Yeah.
Isn't it being written off as a tax?
Yeah, that's exactly why. Yeah.
Probably,
And
but they don't get all of it. They only get like 20%. That's not how you don't just write it off and you get all the money from it. They don't get anything from it. They
That's
still
to me where
just
it's
paid them
like,
off.
why would you ever want to work with Warner Bros? Like, why?
I wouldn't trust working with them ever again.
Isn't it by the people who directed Miss Marvel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said like, oh, it was a wonder to have done this. Our casts were beautiful and incredible, and like they have nothing but praise for everything that they did and every single part of that film, and like they have a clear vision for what they wanted to do, and they said maybe one day we'll get to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it'll be similar with Deadpool. Like, a scene will leak from someone inside. It might even be the Michael Keaton scene. It'll be something, and then there'll be so much public thing that they're kind of like,
I don't know
maybe
though.
we do release this.
I don't
know.
I
reckon it comes out eventually. They'll bring it out, and then everyone will forget.
It'll do this. This is why it feels like the Snyder. This is what I feel like. This is my Snyder cut. I don't know why, because I probably won't even watch it if it releases, because like I don't care about Batman. I just don't. But that is like, it's just insane to me that a film that is testing well, that will make them money, even if they don't like it, it's like Michael Keaton is in it. People will watch it just for Michael Keaton.
I would have.
Did you see what I can't remember if it was the Warner Bros. CEO or the Discovery one or someone. It was someone high up in one or both of the companies or something said about like all the cancellations and things at the minute, that it's not about the quantity of content, but about the quality. So they're wanting to make sure each thing they put out is good. And it's like, I understand that sentiment.
Yeah.
But when you've had so many artists create something that's nearly done, you clearly had faith in it up until a certain point.
And if it is about quality, Suicide Squad released in 2016. It's a bad film. One of the worst superhero films I've ever watched. Until I watched Thor: Love and Thunder.
How dare you besmirch Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad is good.
I'll play devil's advocate, because even if I like agreed with the decision, like if this has got to happen, if we've got to write off this film, the way they've gone about it is just complete brand damage. Like, everyone in the industry is looking at this and thinking, like, the filmmakers, the executives, like just the stars are like, I will not touch this again, because it's like, it's not a dedication to it's not about the art. Like, I get if this needed to happen, but there was a way to do this quietly, there was a way to do this respectfully, and they just didn't care. and I don't understand why someone in that room didn't think, this might look very, very bad. They are paid a lot of money to think about what people are going to think. No one in that room was either able to speak or just say, this is why Christopher Nolan walked away.
Even then, like, it's like the fact that they said, we want to produce things that are cinema worthy, that are going to be watched. And it's like, at what point in all of the stuff that they did and the audience scores that you got back told you that was not cinema worthy? Because you have films like The Joker that got Oscars that had around that same audience score without their CG.
Yeah, which you didn't need to be in a theatre to see.
Yeah.
And didn't the actors find out when the public found
Yeah,
out?
Yeah,
because they just said it in a shareholders meeting that everyone could see.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that is just insane.
You got to think that's been the last 2 years of their life.
Exactly.
Like, to just then, the heartbreaking moment of having that happen, you'd then hope that it would have some humility behind it.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. Like, none of it, to me, ever makes any sense at all. Even if that film flopped, you spent this much money and it's almost done and it releases in 3 months. Just release it. It's Michael Keaton's reintroduction into DC, and we're getting the Flash film somehow, and it's also going to be his reintroduction to DC. It is setting up the biggest thing that DC have ever done.
Yeah.
And now you're still planning to release Flash even though the main character is a fucking felon. And you're still not going to release Batgirl because you don't have faith in a female-led story with a trans character in it.
Yeah.
It's it. That's literally all it is. It's just frustrating to me. Because even this is the studio that released the first female-led superhero film. Like, first main cinema fucking screen one. Like, we saw Wonder Woman and how well that did, and how it's not even the best film we've ever watched.
Halle Berry's Catwoman. Halle Berry's Catwoman, cinematic masterpiece directed by a French genius.
Even then,
his name was Petov, and he mattered.
Even then,
let's also not forget Elektra. You can't forget Elektra. There's a cool dude with tattoos in that film.
You've got to admit that Wonder Woman is the one that led it out. It's the reason we got Captain Marvel, because people saw that and was like, oh, it's the reason like Black Panther is so influential, because it's like this
guys,
black
women
story.
Exist.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
They're real now.
Can you cite your sources, please?
No.
But even
Wonder Woman proved it to me. Wonder Woman proved it to me.
Even
they
still,
exist.
That's just, they just don't have faith in more female-led stories.
Yeah.
Female-led superhero stories. Just don't get it. Not allowed them.
I think there's a degree of like, I get why like people are being ruthless, because this is a very, very expensive business and you've got to be ruthless to a degree, but I think there's just, Netflix are doing the exact same thing in regards to how just like it's gone after a season, or like animation's gone overnight, you can kiss those projects goodbye. It's just, after a while, it's brand damage. I don't understand why, like, if you're going to do it, like, put it somewhere else, like, put it elsewhere, or like, if it has to go on HBO Max, then stick it there, or like, if it's going to be a tax cut, why do this instead of like not some other small documentary thing we've got coming off? You could put things in elsewhere.
I honest to God would have got it if it went to HBO Max. Fine. Yeah. I get that sometimes you make those decisions and that happens. But it's
and that's not even going to be a thing anymore.
Not a thing. Yeah.
That's like the number 2 at the moment, other than maybe Disney. Well, the number 3, just because, like, I don't understand why that's going. Like, that doesn't have to go, but
they're just killing everything. I don't know. It's just clearly a company self-imploding on itself. Do you see that they renamed Pennyworth to Pennyworth, a Batman Butler story? Which is like
the origins of Batman's Butler.
It's like, it's 3 seasons deep, mate. I think people got that.
How that ever got past one series, I have no idea.
There was someone who I was speaking to that I will be as vague about them as possible. It's just what they said that really both confused me and I did not understand it at all, because we were having a conversation about how much we really enjoyed Prey.
Okay.
Like,
Yes, fucking
really brilliant film. Really, really glad that I watched it and glad that it was released. That Dan Trachtenberg, he fucking knows what he's doing when he comes to making a film.
Hell yeah.
And this person said it really surprised him that he enjoyed it so much because he doesn't normally like films with a female protagonist. And I said, why? Why is that?
What?
And he said he struggles to like relate to them as a character and like through a story. And that really took me back because films are like, the whole idea is that you empathize with the person and the character, and it gives you a completely different life, a completely different perspective that you've never even thought of, or just shows you a new world. And so it really took me aback a bit, where it was just like, well, isn't that the whole point? Don't you want stories from people that aren't just like you? You want things showing you about different cultures and different people. It just...
In a sense, though, I get it. Like, not like to the point of like I don't usually like them. It's more like I in The Boys, I really like got into the character of Maeve because she's like me. She's a bisexual woman and struggling in this world and things like that. That's like a thing that I can relate to, and I put a lot into that because of that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get more out of that than I would watching, you know, fucking Billy Butcher going and murdering people, like a power fantasy of a male that's a left-wing anarchist, you know? Like, that's a different sort of person that's going to like that character. I still like that character, but I'm not, like...
I'd be a bit worried with people
related
who
to that
identify with
character.
Billy.
I know enough people who do.
Like, I fully understand that sentiment and wanting to see yourself in certain characters and feel, like, represented. That's the whole... thing on why representation so important. Yeah. But to then completely disregard certain other stories. Or
why does the door have to close? Like, I haven't lived your story, but here's maybe a chance for me to understand it.
Exactly.
Like you identifying so much with Maeve, it doesn't then mean that when it cuts to a scene with like just Homelander or a scene that Maeve isn't in, you're not going to switch off, are you?
No.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, of course. I go and scroll through TikTok until she's back on screen.
That is fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would you do, you know?
I mean, it's just... And like then that you get into that conversation topic, and it's like... You're just creating, like, barriers for yourself. You're cutting out so much of, like, what you won't watch. It's like the whole... People like that in the same vein of, like, the subtitles argument, or just the... I won't touch this because I'm not in it, or it's that person's in it. It's just...
Yeah.
Like, my favourite comic book artist is Tilly Walden. All of her, like, stories are about, like, women and... or trans or non-binary characters, and like, I'm not any of those, but fucking god do I love them, and fucking god are they brilliant characters that I want to see all the time. Like, just try it. It won't hurt. I promise it won't hurt if you try it. Like,
you're telling me that everyone who watched Little Women weren't men?
Guys, we were there with the boys. We were watching. So, when is Amy? No. Which one gets sick? No. Is it Amy?
Beth,
when is Beth gonna get sick? When's Joe gonna cut her?
When is Bob Odenkirk gonna come in and say, my Little Women?
Bob Odenkirk, we all cheered. We stood up, standing ovation. We did the Gentle Minion for the wrong movies. Like, we should have done it for Little Women.
Bob Odenkirk has earned the right to follow that foot fetish account.
Stand by it.
Stand by it.
We were all looking for a way to segue that in. We were all looking for it. Every single one of us.
That man.
If you wanted to segue with violence, then you say this violence against Bob Odenkirk is an injustice.
That man is giving the highlights of his career. And let him enjoy what he wants to enjoy. He's giving us more gifts than we deserve.
I just couldn't stop laughing when I saw it. I can't believe it's almost as funny as when Ted Cruz liked porn on Maine.
I
Woo!
saw that.
Good old Ted Cruz.
I appreciated it.
There was a photo uncovered the other day, and it's like a promotional photo for Smash Brothers Melee, and it's Bob Odenkirk playing it. And I thought he just the meme of him, like anything, like he's that's him now.
David
like,
Cross. Yeah.
Nothing can go surpass that. Yeah, the man's got a foot fetish. Yeah, His eyes lit up playing Melee. That's all we need to think of him. That says everything about him as a person.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
don't bother the man. Leave him be.
you know, Tarantino also has a thing for the feet.
I believe that's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't heard that. You know.
There's some rumours that might lead to that. Yeah.
Did you see the?
I've seen a few frames.
I refuse to call it a TikTok. Have you seen the Instagram reel that he's
We
doing?
don't even post to like Instagram reels. Like we post to TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and you can't even say TikTok.
We'll know we've only made it as a podcast, as a platform
When it gets reposted by someone else.
When it gets reposted on Instagram Reels, okay, that is when we have actually made an impact with this.
There's like a lot of people who are desperate to get into Team 10 or like be sat next to Jake Paul. No, if I get reposted on Instagram, I am God. I don't need to be Mr. Beast.
There was an Instagram reel. Oh, fuck that dude. Absolutely fuck that guy.
We're not giving him the time of day. We're not giving him the time of day, Michelle. No. I'm not having his name.
But Quentin Tarantino was featured in an Instagram reel where he was like signing things and posters and whatnot, and then a woman was just like, Quentin, he's like, "You're right, sweetheart," and he's like, "Please, can you sign my foot?" And you could just see his face light up, and he's like, "Certainly, darling." He's just like, the way he's holding her foot is really uncomfortable as he's just signing it, and she's like, "Please, can you rate my foot?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Out of 10." And he's like, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that." But you could just
he
see
didn't like that foot.
absolutely
He
made
didn't like
his
that
day.
He didn't like that one.
It just made his day.
Dude, I'd be offended if he didn't rate mine if I'm at that situation. Like,
You clock.
You go to
he
your
doesn't
grave
like it.
thinking about it.
Rate the foot.
rate it, bitch. I want to know now.
Mine or Margot Robbie's foot, which is better? Do you remember Thumb Wars on CBBC?
Hell yeah, Thumb Wars. Hell
yes,
yeah.
I do.
That, but with feet. Toe Wars. Michelle, you v.
You didn't
Margot
actually need to like say Thumb Wars. Thumb Wars are a thing. Like it wasn't just the CBB sheets.
Robbie.
Yeah,
No,
but
the
it only
CBBC
became
show
worthwhile
had
when
so
it was on
much.
CBC.
When it had like the Mexican guy and then it
Yeah,
had
I
the-
printed them out and put them on my
Yeah.
thumb. I remember
Yes,
it, but like
yes.
Do you
it
remember there was a
wasn't.
Flash
That's
game
not
of it?
a thing that
It was like a
people
Flash game and it was
out in the
brilliant.
world don't remember that. Apart from like us three right now.
That's why we have been put on this planet. That's why we're doing this podcast. We need to share with the world. We need
Right,
to remind them.
I know I opened this saying that Michelle will be banging on the door of Channel 4 pitching Ready Steady Cook, but I am challenging you, Michelle. Get to CBBC. Pitch
Why-
Foot Wars. Pitch it.
This isn't again my career path. This isn't the thing that I was trying to go for.
Michelle, come on. How difficult can it be to start a television show? I think you just need to put that little bit of effort in. Give it that extra pizzazz.
And then Warner Bros.
Yeah.
can cancel it in a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it would be an honour to have been cancelled by them.
They'll do a release the Snyder Cut thing for me, like release the Michelle cut, and
It's not.
it won't be
not-
done, and it won't be good.
It's not like it's difficult for women in this industry, Michelle. Like I think you just make excuses.
As long as the women aren't the protagonists, then.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I just need to put myself out more. I need to smile
Yeah.
more. You're right.
Yeah, Michelle, you're looking a bit upset today. Could you?
Yeah. Could you smile a bit more?
That angered me to even say. I'm so sorry. I'm not even gonna finish that.
Yo,
joke.
we got Andrew Tate on, guys. Holy
We
shit!
know we've made it when there's like angry nerds like editing Michelle's face just to put like a smile next to it or on it, or just like comparing you to like the ideal incel version of what Aloy should look like. Just
Yeah, dude. I need, because feet go like that for women.
Yeah.
They do that.
See, now that if it was like that, Tarantino would have said that was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But it was like that, so he didn't want to rate it.
Should we just like
Sounds
talk
like a
about our
Tarantino
feet?
thing.
I mean, we could talk about our feet. What are your feet like, Michelle?
It's lovely
Imagine-
weather we've had today.
Yeah, it's just feeling quite warm. You know,
The sun's been out. It's been
it's been a wonderful
Nice to-
time.
nice to spend.
It's supposed to
some
be
time
it's supposed to be
outside.
warm for the next couple of days as well.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll start to get cloudy a bit soon. Maybe soon we'll have a thunderstorm, clear the air a little bit.
It's supposed to rain on Sunday, so
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
I'm not going to sleep tonight.
you
I'll
start thinking
just-
about feet.
No, I'll just be thinking, what do they think of me? What have I done? They can ask me to leave.
Anyway, that was such.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a good
We
night.
promise there won't be another month between the next two, and we'll also we're already behind on shorts and clips and things, but we'll catch up. We'll find our way back.
Yeah.
We're doing our best.